Okay, folks, keeping the channel alive with another quick video to help re-energize my channel because I took a 2-month break and YouTube doesn't like it when you take 2 months breaks. So smash a like on the video, smash a comment, let me know your thoughts, trying to re-energize the channel a little bit. So we're just throwing out videos where stuff pops into my mind and I'm just putting it out there without a thought. So EA FC 24, which is a football game, FIFA basically, kind of rebranded, has just come out. And in it, for the first time, you can sort of play men with women. You can have high-rated women players. It's all about equality. The women's rating were fair and unbiased, which made their cards not just usable, but even preferable. So the cards are fair and unbiased. Okay, so there are some cards coming out, and initially you're going to start to think, okay, right, let's have a look at things. So we have Reece James and his sister within 2 points of each other. We have Neymar is a worse winger than, let's say, Putellas is a CM. We have Bonmati, who is a higher rated central midfielder than the treble winning Bernardo Silva. And also we have examples to pull up. Now, what happens when you discuss these kind of things is you end up on these Reddit threads, right? And you end up with these threads about the reaction to women icons being added to Ultimate Team is pathetic, right? And we'll see things like, what did you expect? It's teenage boys that play it. Now, I will hold my hand up and say the last FIFA game I played was FIFA 12. I didn't like the way the game started to become metas and top players, and you had to have specific players in specific positions. Otherwise, you just had no hope. What I used to like doing is building a team that I enjoyed. So I used to like, say, I used to play with a friend and he was a big Blackburn Rovers fan. And every time Blackburn Rovers would have a good time and a player would go in form, he'd buy that card and he ended up with like the full in-form Blackburn Rovers team. Or he'd have some pacey Brazilians or a silver Brazilian team for skill. Or he'd have like Fernando Torres and Van Persie I used to run just doing mad long shots. I like to play FIFA in the way I like to play football in real life. I'm not trying to stat boost and do specific SBC challenges and all of this. I just like to pick a bunch of players that I liked and try and make it work. That meant sometimes I would be playing with really, really lowly rated players just because I liked the player. And it often didn't matter because loads of other people were doing it. So you would get evenly matched teams. Nowadays, everybody's got an insane team and they're SBC in it and they're doing grinding challenges to get top cards for stats. And it's all about this could be a good investment. And I don't like that. So I don't play it, right? I don't play it. However, this is still stupid and I'm still allowed to say that it's stupid and it doesn't make me a teenage boy. And when people say they're not bothered, and when people say, oh, it's really amazing for the game, and people moaning about it or crying and it's cringe. And look, the reality is it's a stunt to get the women's game more mentioned, more notified. And if we've been honest, there are a lot of sports that women, in comparison to men, where the gap is closer than football. Do you hear what I'm saying there? The gap between women and men's football is massive. There are other sports out there where the gap is closer and they could be pushing those sports. But Sky Sports, the media, they know if they can get the women's game to be as big as the men's game, which, spoiler alert, it won't happen just because women aren't naturally as interested in football. I don't care what you say. It's true. They're not out on a Saturday night traveling up to Woking or something, you know, to make the Sunday morning game or something like that. And they're not doing a 9-hour round trip to an away game. Some might do. And some men wouldn't do. Doesn't make them less or more of a fan. It's just facts, really. The stadiums aren't full and the game won't ever be as big. But they're trying because of money. They don't actually care about women's quality at football, or if it's equal, or if they're having equal opportunities. They don't care about that. They just see men's football makes an insane amount of money, and if they could close the gap, we'd make an insane amount of money. Anyway, the point is, well, let's get to the cards, right? The cards are a joke. We have World Cup winning Alvarez, who is scoring pretty much every single game for Man City, and he's starting up top, displacing world-class players. Because he is stat-wise not great, he costs 3k coins. And if you take a look, pretty much in every single department, Kerr from Chelsea, who's a 90 rated striker, and the reason I mention this is you can put her in your team. So what ends up happening is obviously everybody's chasing the really good cards. Everyone's chasing the fantastic cards. They're not so much chasing the player. It used to be back in the day you chase the player because you like them. Now you chase the specific stats, nationality, maybe the chemistry they fit in and whatever. So you're going for points and attributes. That's the way the game is played now. And so we're starting to see teams piled full of women, which is just unrealistic. Now, you could say it's Ultimate Team, it's unrealistic. Well, yeah, you could argue, look, it's unrealistic, but the whole point of Ultimate Team is you manage and you create a team of players you like and players you want to buy if you were a manager with unlimited money, right? That was the whole thing. If I wanted a full Manchester United team in FIFA 12, I could get it. Nowadays, that wouldn't be relevant because probably their defenders aren't quick enough to deal with a certain card, and you have to play certain centre-back formations and setups and yada yada. So everyone chases points. So now the game is not becoming who can you pick, who do you like, what players do you like. It's now not even becoming, well, I'll chase Haaland because Haaland's got really incredible stats, and once I've unlocked and grinded for him, that will feel good. You're now chasing for players that really you don't know or care about, because they've just been artificially inflated to make them feel good. That's the fact. You know, I used to play with a guy who played football for Preston North End, right? And I used to build a Preston team, and we used to have a laugh on FIFA, and all the players we had were rubbish. Now, should we artificially inflate them to make them feel good? Right? No, you just picked them and they were a bit bad, but you liked the player, so you played with them. The same way you might pick Alvarez because you like the player, but his card's not great, but you play him just because you like him, right? So, but now we've got into this silly scenario where we've got players. She is faster, better sprint speed, better acceleration, better shooting, positioning, finishing, shot power, long shots, volleys, better vision, better passing, better dribbling, better agility, reactions, better ball control, better dribbling, better composure, better heading. She's more physical. She's better at jumping. She's got more stamina. She's got more strength. She has 85 physicality. This is beating out some absolutely insane players. I mean, you know, if you take a look at this guy, right? Maino, he's just started recently playing for Manchester United as a young kid, right? He's good enough to play in the first team of Manchester United, right? Yet he's 67 physicality, 58 defense. Now, everybody has these bronze cards, right? Because they're not very known and yada yada. It happens all up and down the games throughout its entire lifespan. But should we artificially inflate this guy to make him feel good so we can play with him, to give youth a chance, right? We're dealing with, you know, crazy situations. I wonder, just out of interest, let's have a look at, if I could type this morning, can we see Thiago Silva? What's Thiago Silva? Thiago's physicality is 74. So just take a look. Morgan, the striker, has more physicality than Thiago Silva. Make it make sense. It doesn't make any sense. We're just trying to inflate just craziness, really. We're trying to inflate craziness. A central midfielder, Putellas Segura, has as good a shot ability, better passing, equal dribbling, literally double the defensiveness of and the same physicality as Mbappe. If this was real, or even close to real, they would be playing in the men's game. And it's just boring, because when you call it out for what it is, it's artificially inflating to save egos. It's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. Take a look at this, right? Kevin De Bruyne, one of the greats to play in the Premier League. I think we can agree, whether you're a Man U fan, City fan, Chelsea fan, one of the greats to play in a football world. Literally worse. Worse pace, worse acceleration, worse sprint speed, worse shooting, positioning, finishing, worse volleys, worse penalties, worse free kick accuracy, worse short passing. So Putellas has better short and long range passing than Kevin De Bruyne. Now you can say, well, it doesn't really matter, mate, because if you gave them rubbish stats and you gave them realistic stats, nobody would use them. Why not? Why would nobody use them? The women or the men that want to fill their team with women players would end up with a squad that is very lowly rated. And then they would match against other people that are very lowly rated. And you might bump into people. You might be a girl playing FIFA and you've got a full ladies team with a few odd blokes in there or whatever you want. And then you queue up and then you bump into somebody else with a full women's team. And you're like, hey, look, someone else really likes women's football. And you have a bit of a different game, right? Nowadays, it's like you've got the most stacked team and Kevin De Bruyne is on the bench and they've got Putellas in central midfield. And it's like, that just doesn't make sense. That's not somebody putting in Putellas because they love the women's game and they want to raise the profile of the women's game. It's just, no, the card is just better. FIFA would be so much better if the stats were realistic, and like I've just said, people play who they want to play and you get matched against similar people. If women's football is so popular and it's been such a monumental shift that women are included in the game, you should find full women teams that match against full women teams. That's the way it should be, but that's not happening because the cards are absolutely ridiculous. Again, you could just pull up any sort of youth player, you know, from... You know, let's look at Billy Gilmore, right? He was a young player for Chelsea, sold to Brighton. He's now playing in the Scottish team. You know, he's a young guy. He's on the up and up. He's 72 rated CDM. Should we just boost his card up, right? He's not even a gold player, yet he plays for Brighton in the Premier League. And, you know, should we upgrade his card and make him feel good? No. What people will do is if they want to play with Billy Gilmore, they'll put him in, whether his card's low or not. That's what it should be. Just give them the accurate value of their card. If the accurate value is, let's say, League 2, I would argue that pretty much every single League 2 footballer as a bloke is better than the women's. You know, I'm not trying to be rude. It's just kind of statistically and it's just obvious, right? If you put a League 2 team versus a women's team and said play like your life's on the line, I don't think many women's team would beat them. It's just the way it is, right? So their stats would have to be lower than a League 2 player or something like that. And you might think that's offensive. And you could say, oh, well, they'll never get used. Well, if people actually want to use the card and people want to use the players, the same way somebody would want to use Alvarez, you know, somebody might want to use Alvarez even though his stats aren't that great, or somebody might want to use Thiago Silva. They might say, oh, his pace is a bit slow, I don't want to use Thiago Silva. Somebody might say, well, I like him, so I'm going to play Thiago Silva. There might be people out there that go, you know what? I know Kerr is 52 rated, but I want to play with a women's team, so I'm going to have Kerr up front. And you manage the team you want, but this isn't managing the team. This isn't football ultimate team. This is an agenda. This is we've got to keep pushing the agenda. And the reason I use that word was on Sky Sports, one of the women that talked about the game used that exact phrase. She said, we need to keep talking about it. Sponsorships need to be 50-50. We need to keep pushing the agenda. And I don't know if she slipped up with that word or whatever, but that's what it's beginning to feel like. Or to me, it already does feel like that. You know, saying that the Nike sponsorship should give half the money to the women's team and half the money to the men's team. It's not realistic, but we're not even going to get into that. The point is, look, I get it, okay? You want some good cards that people can actually use if you're trying to be good at the game. It's unfortunate if you can't put a woman in your starting lineup for a high competitive game of FIFA because they're too lowly rated. But unfortunately, that's the reality. It's the same way you wouldn't put Kobe Mano in your team because he's a bronze player. It doesn't mean any disrespect to them. Kobe Mano's not crying at home because he's 50 rated, right? But I guarantee if the women came out in FIFA FC 24 and were all 50 and below, there'd be outrage. But there's no outrage for other people's stats. So I don't know where we are right now. I think it's ridiculous. I think anybody that tries to like talk about it gets labeled as, oh, you're this, you're that. And I just don't see it like that. I just think it is what it is. We're seeing it for what it is. We're seeing that Morgan from America has better shooting than Neymar, right? I don't know what you say. Like, what do you say about that? So that's what it is. FIFA FC 24. I imagine you're going to see a lot of inform high-level female cards all over the shop, and it's going to be a very strange experience because we're now living in a world where we're just making up stats because reasons. You tell me the reasons, let me know.